You know that moment when you're sitting on the throne scrolling through your phone and you wonder, what if I just died here? Yeah, you've thought about it. Don't lie to me. Well, spoiler alert, it happens. More often than you'd think. Before we begin, let me just say, if you're watching this video while on the toilet right now, maybe stand up. Elvis Presley, the king's final throne. Let's start with royalty, shall we? August 16th, 1977. Elvis Presley, the king of rock and roll, the man who made teenage girls faint just by moving his hips, died face down on his bathroom floor with his pajama bottoms around his ankles. Now, the official story is cardiac arrhythmia, very fancy medical term. But let's be real. The man was on the toilet reading a book about the Shroud of Turin when his heart said, thank you very much, and checked out of the building. Here's the thing about Elvis. He had a bathroom that was basically a throne room. Gold fixtures, plush carpeting, the works. This man had a nicer bathroom than most of us have living rooms. And yet, all that luxury couldn't save him from the most undignified exit in rock and roll history. The irony? Elvis spent his entire life being worshipped like a god, had screaming fans, lived in a literal mansion called Graceland, and he ended up becoming the most famous toilet death in history. You can have all the gold records in the world, but you're still human when nature calls. And the book he was reading? About Jesus's burial shroud. I mean, the symbolism writes itself, doesn't it? Lenny Bruce, the comedian's final punchline, August 3rd, 1966. Lenny Bruce, the godfather of stand-up comedy, the guy who paved the way for every edgy comedian you've ever laughed at, died on his toilet with a needle in his arm. Now Lenny spent his entire career pushing boundaries, saying things nobody else would say, getting arrested for obscenity. He was the guy who made it okay for comedians to talk about uncomfortable truths. And his final uncomfortable truth? He overdosed while taking a dump. The police found him naked, face down on the bathroom floor. His arm was tied off, and there was a syringe nearby. Comedy is tragedy plus time, right? Well, Lenny created his own final bit. And honestly, it's the darkest joke he ever told. Here's a guy who dedicated his life to exposing the absurdity of human existence, who fought censorship and died essentially censored, because nobody really wants to talk about how he went out. We remember the genius, we forget the bathroom floor. The cosmic joke, Lenny Bruce made a career out of making people uncomfortable. His death made everyone so uncomfortable that they just stopped talking about it. Mission accomplished, I guess. Arius, the heretic's explosive exit. Okay, let's go way back. Year 336 AD, Constantinople. Arius was a Christian priest who had some, let's call them, controversial opinions about the nature of Jesus. The church wasn't thrilled about it. They called him a heretic, which in those days was basically being canceled, but with more eternal damnation. So there's this big theological debate happening, and Arius is supposed to be reinstated by the emperor. He's walking to the church, probably feeling pretty smug about his comeback, when suddenly, nature calls. Urgently, he ducks into a public bathroom. And then, according to historical accounts, his intestines literally exploded out of his body. I'm not making this up. The historical records describe it as his bowels gushing forth and falling out. Now, his enemies said it was divine punishment. God literally made him crap out his own organs because of his blasphemous views. His supporters said he was poisoned. Either way, the man died in a public toilet with his intestines on the floor. Imagine being so wrong about theology that God himself decides, you know what? Death is too good for this guy. Let's make it weird. The lesson here. Maybe don't have controversial religious opinions in the 4th century, or if you do, avoid public bathrooms, one or the other. Edmund II, the king who was literally stabbed in the arse. Alright, buckle up for this one, because it's exactly as horrible as it sounds. November 30th, 1016. Edmund II, King of England, nicknamed Ironside because of how tough he was in battle, sits down on the toilet. There's an assassin hiding in the cesspit below. Yes, you read that right. Someone was literally hiding in the medieval sewage tank, waiting for the king to take a royal dump. And when Edmund sat down, the assassin reached up with a sword and stabbed him multiple times from below. Let me paint you a picture. You're a king. You fought Vikings, survived multiple battles, earned the nickname Ironside because you're basically indestructible. You've dodged swords, axes, arrows, and you're taken out by a guy hiding in a pool of human feces with a pointy stick. The assassin's name was allegedly Edric Striona, who was basically the medieval equivalent of that friend who says he's got your back but is actually planning your surprise party. Except the surprise is a sword in your rectum. Edmund died from his wounds. The official cause of death had to be written down somewhere in royal records, and I guarantee you some monk was sitting there with a quill thinking, how do I make stabbed in the butthole while pooping sound regal? Godfrey IV, the Duke's dirty death. September 25th, 1076. Godfrey IV, Duke of Lower Lorraine, sitting on a toilet in Antwerp. And according to historical chronicles, he died when an assassin stabbed him while he was attending to nature. Now, historians debate the exact method, but the consensus is someone killed him while he was vulnerable and pants down. Because apparently medieval times were just full of people who thought, you know what would be a great assassination strategy? Catching them with their pants literally down. Godfrey was a powerful duke, a military commander, a man of importance, and his legacy is basically that guy who got murdered on the toilet. You can conquer territories, you can lead armies, you can be nobility, shade, but die on the toilet, and that's your Wikipedia entry forever. The best part? This was considered such an dishonorable death that some historians tried to cover it up or change the story. Because apparently dying in battle is noble, but dying mid-poop is something we need to hide from history books. Sorry, Godfrey. We remember, the internet never forgets, especially the embarrassing stuff. Ladislas the Posthumous, the teenage king's tragic toilet trip. November 23rd, 1457. Ladislas the Posthumous. Yes, that was actually his name because his dad died before he was born. Off to a great start, was king of Bohemia, Hungary, and Austria. He was 17 years old. He died suddenly while sitting on the toilet. The cause? Probably the plague, or poisoning, or just really bad luck. Medieval medicine wasn't great at specifics. But here's the thing, this kid was named the Posthumous, which is basically the universe's way of foreshadowing. Like, they literally named him after death from birth, and we're surprised he died young in an undignified way. Imagine being a teenage king. You've got 3 kingdoms. You're basically the most powerful teenager in Europe. And you die on the toilet before you even get to enjoy your kingdoms. No wild parties, no questionable decisions, no finding yourself phase. Just straight from childhood to toilet death. And because he died without heirs, his death basically triggered a succession crisis that affected 3 different kingdoms. So not only did he die on the toilet, but his toilet death literally changed European politics. 1 toilet trip. That's all it took to alter the course of history. Remember that next time you think your bathroom breaks don't matter. Catherine the Great, the myth that won't die. Okay, so technically Catherine the Great died of a stroke and collapsed in her bathroom, then died in her bed the next day. But the legend is so much more infamous that we have to talk about it. The rumor, and this is pure malicious gossip started by her enemies, is that she died while having intimate relations with a horse in the bathroom, using some kind of apparatus. It's completely false, but it's persisted for over 200 years. Here's a woman who expanded the Russian Empire, corresponded with Voltaire, patronized the arts, and basically modernized Russia. She was one of the most powerful and intelligent rulers in history. And what do people remember? A completely made-up story about her and a horse in a bathroom. The real story is she had a stroke on the toilet, which is still not great, but it's significantly less scandalous than the horse thing. But humans being humans, we couldn't just let her have a normal toilet-related death. We had to make it weird. So Catherine the Great's legacy is fighting off persistent bestiality rumors for 200 plus years, which honestly is its own kind of tragedy. The woman conquered half of Asia, but she couldn't conquer bathroom gossip. The lesson? It doesn't matter how successful you are. Die anywhere near a bathroom and people will make up the worst possible story about it every single time. Judy Garland, Somewhere Over the Rainbow to the Bathroom. June 22nd, 1969. Judy Garland, Dorothy herself, the woman who sang Somewhere Over the Rainbow, was found dead in the bathroom of her London home. The official cause was an accidental barbiturate overdose. Now, Judy's life was tragic from start to finish. Child star, abused by the studio system, forced to take pills to stay thin and work impossible hours, suffered through multiple divorces and bankruptcy. The woman had a rough go of it, and her final moment, locked in a bathroom, alone, having taken too many pills, accidentally or intentionally, we'll never really know. The woman who gave us one of the most hopeful songs in cinema history ended her journey in the least hopeful place possible. She was 47 years old. She'd spent her entire life entertaining people, making them happy, being Dorothy for generations of kids. And she died alone in a bathroom, probably trying to escape the pain of her existence for just a few minutes. It's the darkest kind of irony. Dorothy wanted to go home. Judy just wanted to feel okay. Neither of them got what they wanted. And you know what makes it worse? Her 5th husband found her. Can you imagine? Honey, you've been in there a while. Everything okay? Everything was not okay. 8 people, 8 bathrooms, 8 reminders that dignity is a myth, and we're all just one bad bathroom break away from becoming a weird story on the internet. Kings, musicians, comedians, celebrities, it doesn't matter who you are. The great equalizer isn't death, it's the toilet. Here's the thing nobody wants to admit. We're all going to die, and there's a non-zero chance it's going to be embarrassing. You could die tripping over your own shoelaces, you could die choking on a grape, you could die, as we've learned today, while pooping, and that's okay. Well, it's not okay, but it's human. We spend so much time trying to be dignified and put together and perfect, and then we die in our pajamas with our phones in our hands, probably in the middle of scrolling through TikTok. The real tragedy isn't that these people died on toilets. The real tragedy is that we're all so uncomfortable with our own humanity that we turn these deaths into jokes or try to cover them up. Everyone poops. Some people just stop while doing it. Now I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below telling me, what's the most undignified place you can imagine dying? And be honest, have you ever had a moment on the toilet where you thought, this is it, this is how I go? Because we all have. And hey, if you made it to the end of this video without running to check on your own bathroom safety, you're braver than I am. I've got a standing desk in my bathroom now. Is it weird? Yes. Is it safer? Probably not. But it makes me feel better. Remember to subscribe, hit that notification bell, and maybe tell someone you love them today, because you never know when your last bathroom break is going to be your last bathroom break. Stay safe out there, folks, and maybe invest in one of those life alert buttons for your bathroom. I'm just saying. This has been another episode of Deaths That Make You Rethink Your Life Choices. I'll see you in the next one, assuming we both survive our next bathroom trips. Peace out, and seriously, put your phone down when you're on the toilet. These people would still be alive if they'd just done their business and left. Probably. Maybe. Actually, no, most of them wouldn't, but it sounds like good advice anyway.